We always seem to disagree on just random things. Welcome to the Nerd Pastors Podcast, a place where faith and fandom collide, at least with church leaders. I still haven't talked to Ricky Pope. He's ignoring me. He's ditching my calls, saying he's with his so-called wife. But we'll let it slide. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Justin. And with me is Seth Muse. Seth.
Hey, what's up, man? I'm glad to be back doing this again. It's been a while.
Yeah. Well, 3 weeks. I think that's like a new record. We usually try to do one every 2, and we made it to 3. So hey, all right. I got one question, Seth. Before I ask you this, let me make sure I'm asking someone qualified. Did you go to seminary?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Technically, was Jesus a zombie?
Technically, no. But I can understand the question.
What is the difference between a zombie and Jesus besides eternal salvation?
Well, function, brain function, the lack of desire of eating brains,
no shambling.
No, I didn't kill people.
I didn't go to seminary, so I didn't get that question.
I didn't get that question in seminary either.
That's just another question my 9-year-old asks me.
It's fair question.
Good questions. And then also with us as usual, Doug Triplett. Doug, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. Having a interesting time and looking forward to cracking a new laptop open this afternoon. So
don't crack it open. Just open it gently.
Yeah.
My question for you, Doug,
we're going to crack it open because I've got components to put in it. So.
Okay. I got a question. I got a question, yes, not from my 9-year-old, but from me as I'm watching the Harley Quinn TV show. And is it canon that Poison Ivy is vegetarian?
Yes.
Wouldn't it make more sense that she's a carnivore?
Yeah. I didn't know
that would make sense, yes, but
she's a vegetarian.
Yeah, in the Harley Quinn TV show, she's vegetarian.
I
was thinking, like, that doesn't make sense. Wouldn't it be like when the Deep has to eat an octopus and he can hear it screaming as he eats it? He's like the boy's Aquaman, and he's like force fed an octopus, and he's like, I can hear it screaming, and like, wouldn't she like? Isn't she just eating people, or what she?
Yeah. That's just one more reason I watch that show.
They actually explain it in the comics is she grows the healthiest kind of thing you can have, and meat can't meet it because she's filtering out all the harmful antibiotics and blah 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 left to be.
What really happened is they wrote themselves into a corner. And they had to figure out a way to explain it with
their special vegetables. It's kale. Kale has no soul.
Yeah, kale is soulless. Kale actually absorbs your soul and takes it.
Kale is the redhead of vegetables. So
makes you a CrossFitter.
He's the CrossFitter.
Turns you into a CrossFit zombie.
So today we're talking about fall.
Not to be confused with a Jesus zombie. Sorry.
That would make sure. Yeah. Jesus zombie, different topic. We're talking fall TV today.
So the question is, with the zombie thing though, just real quick.
Oh, that's fine. Let's not do it. Let's just talk about zombies.
Well, it just kind of fits here. Would Poison Ivy be the best player ever at Plants vs. Zombies?
Against Jesus, the zombie king? Zombie king of kings?
See, heresy. We're tipping over into it.
Lord, I'm sorry for that one. Welcome to Nerd Pastors Podcast, where we just leave bad witness and testimony all over the place with inappropriate jokes. No one tell Matt Chandler's staff too soon. That's okay. Nope. We're doing it here in front of dozens of people. There are dozens of us. We're talking fall TV, reviewing it. If you couldn't tell from the thumbnail that I posted and that comes along with this, you can kind of tell my feelings of the shows we're talking about. We've been watching House of the Dragon, Rings of Power, She-Hulk. There was some talk in the group about Lower Decks, also Cobra Kai. And then I'm watching a couple of shows as well. That's like my me time shows that Daddy watches, but when everyone else is in bed. It's fall TV is okay. I feel like I'm just getting used to disappointment. What do we want to start with first, Seth? What show do you want to start with?
I will play a clip.
Okay, play a clip.
Could you state your name for the record? Madison King. Madison is with 2 N's, 1 Y, but it's not where you think. Could you just spell it for us? Absolutely, I will for sure. Madisynn. Could you tell us about the night you participated in Donnie Blaze's show? Oh, sure. So first he gave me roses that didn't smell like anything. And then he pushed me into a fireland. That must have been terrifying. How did you escape? I made a pact with a demon that I cannot discuss. Otherwise, he said he would reap my soul and the souls of all I love, which honestly is so dramatic, and I hate drama. Okay, this was a mistake.
My favorite character of the MCU is for sure Madison.
It's not Wongers. You don't like Wongers?
My gosh, that came out of nowhere and just made my day. That whole episode. I think I've seen it 3 times now.
So that was okay. I'll tell you this: yesterday's She-Hulk or this week's She-Hulk, with the shoe, the drip, the fashionista.
Yeah,
that was the best episode of the season.
That was a good one.
Spoiler alert! Spoilers alert for She-Hulk up to episode 5. Look, the first two episodes of She-Hulk just were not good, not great. And I used to say this, Seth. You've heard me say this: a bad Marvel movie is still a good movie, and a bad Marvel TV show is still a good TV show. She-Hulk is making me doubt that mantra.
Oh man. Yeah, it's definitely like this show has no point. There's no point to the show. There's not moving any real story along except, hey, She-Hulk exists now. And that's it. And later maybe she'll come into it. They've tried to do the Deadpool break the fourth wall thing, and they haven't done that very well. She's funny, I guess. It's just not hitting like, you hope. So you kind of have to go, all right, well, let me just not have any expectations whatsoever and just try to enjoy it.
And that's exactly
that's all you can do.
That's exactly what I had to change my mindset. After the second or third episode, I thought, okay, I said, this is what makes more sense. It's one of the Deadpool offshoot comics. Like Deadpool kills the universe, or Deadpool and Spider-Man go to White Castle. It doesn't make any sense. They're just Flanderized versions of the characters, and those comics are enjoyable. Now, once I thought about that, then the show became enjoyable. I don't know if the episodes got better or if it was just my mindset. But
that's exactly what it is. Well, probably both. Probably.
Well, the episodes have gotten better, but I was hoping for a little more seriousness to it, because they had said they were going to basically use the original John Byrne run, and that is when she first broke fourth wall, long before Deadpool did.
Yeah,
but they haven't really used any of the Byrne stuff, so I'm just enjoying it for what it is, and I'm just taking it like it's a classic farce, and it doesn't have to make sense. It's just going full steam, and we don't know where we're going.
It's just every episode is a new start over. It's just episode.
Yeah, the other thing that kind of, the thing that kind of like settled it, like I'm just like, I just don't care about this show. And this year too, we talked about this last time, Marvel Phase 4. What a fart. This is now 2022 is the year that, thankfully, we watched Miss Marvel. That was a good show. But like, we've got Thor trying to save some kids to go to an orgy. And now we've got She-Hulk looking for a one-night stand. It's like, I have to screen these shows. Thankfully, again, Miss Marvel, which, by the way, Miss Marvel, the more I think about it, the best family in the MCU so far. She has both mom and dad. They both really care about her. They're not jerks.
Mm-hmm.
Like the best family unit we have on TV is in Miss Marvel. And another good reason that show is, like I said, the best show of the year, at least Marvel TV wise. Yeah. Okay. What's up with the shoes in episode 5? is Deadpool and the Thing, and who else was on the
Cyclops was in there.
Cyclops, that's right.
Yeah. There's a lot of little hidden.
Some
Easter
of them
eggs.
I didn't recognize. I don't know if they were just filler or.
Yeah, it's fun, the art at the end. Like I really enjoy the art at the end of all the credit scenes for She-Hulk. It's really well done. It's just super cool and fun, and you'll see scenes that weren't in the show. So you actually should watch those because it tells a little bit more of the story, which I think is really great. But it also they're messing with us, man. It's just like you don't know if that's really what happened. It's so off the wall and ridiculous that you're like, is that something that happened off screen, or are they just jacking with us, breaking the fourth wall? You don't know.
Yeah.
And if you can enjoy that kind of thing, and it's fun, but if not, if you're like, oh, does that mean Deadpool's here? Does that mean, if you're like looking for the conspiracy, it's going to be frustrating.
Here's my conspiracy. Did they say the fashion artist's name? Is that the new?
Yeah, they did.
What's his name? Marvin Potter from Daredevil?
I don't know. Yeah, I didn't catch it though.
Okay.
They did say
all I caught was the hat box at the end.
Yeah. That's what made me think like, oh, are they just well, no, because Potter's in Hell's Kitchen, isn't he? Or is somewhere in New York? He's not in LA, which I love. LA Deadpool. I was not Deadpool, Daredevil. I love it was San Francisco. He did a run in San Francisco in the comics.
Yeah.
That also overlapped with Superior Iron Man. And I really enjoyed San Francisco.
Is She-Hulk in California? I didn't even pay attention to that.
Yeah, it's in LA.
She's in LA. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he could have ordered it. You never know. Everything comes through the mail now.
Maybe.
So. Well, he's coming to pick it up, so we know he's going to be in one episode.
Yeah.
So
he was already in the trailer.
The next episode will be more serious than the previous ones, although we'll see.
I look for it to get like, it's funny, it's silly until like the last 2 episodes, then it'll be like, oh, things just got real. I think they might do something like that. And
they did set up World War Hulk with episode 2.
Yep.
So
they set up World War Hulk. At the last episode of Miss Marvel, they set up mutants. They're just slipping these tiny things in the TV shows that, like,
I will tell you this though. I read this, and this may or may not be true. I think it is true. We may not get mutants, like fully X-Men mutants, until like 2025 because of contracts and things that are existing still, like who owns the rights to those characters and stuff. So they're slipping it in, I think, just as fan service right now to say that.
Yeah, we had Wolverine in one of the articles that if you freeze frame, there's like a mention of a brawl with a guy with knife hands or something.
Yeah. They just do little stuff where they're not naming it, but you know who they're talking about, and what's up.
Yeah. Well, what they're doing with the contracts, what the problem is some of those actors that were in the Fox movies still have a movie or so on their contract.
Yeah.
And they either have to use them or the actor can decline, and then they can use the character, or wait till the contract expires.
Yeah.
I want them to make another. They need to make another movie. I mean, I really want another New Mutants. Such a classic. So good.
Yeah. I mean, and it was kind of it was an okay movie, but
I didn't see it. I gave up.
It was a good direction. Like, they need to do something like that. But still, like Deadpool, I know that they're making the 3rd film, and it's going to be technically in the MCU. He might actually be the first. Well, Miss Marvel just did it, but he might be the full, like, first obvious mutant in the MCU. Unless there's somebody I'm probably not thinking of, but it could very well be Deadpool. Which, how great is it if it's really Deadpool? to have his first like title movie.
They've slowly nudged Wanda's and Pietro's
Yeah.
story to be mutants once they got the contract, the rights back. So,
Yeah.
So, scale of 1 to 10, She-Hulk.
Solid 6.
Yeah, I go with that.
Okay,
it's worth watching. Just no expectations. You're along for the ride. That's all it is.
It's we're gonna talk about this more with Rings of Power, but it's like one of these things where I look at it and I'm like, would I watch this if it wasn't a Marvel property?
Right.
I don't know.
Wouldn't.
But I give it a 4. I give it a 4 because there are some laugh out loud moments. If it wasn't a Marvel show, I might even give it a 5. But it's like, I don't know. I just feel like the writing's not quite there. It almost feels a little rushed. I just saw
really
on Twitter.
happens.
I just saw on Twitter it was supposed to come out before Miss Marvel. I think it was supposed to come out first before Miss Marvel, but they like rescheduled it and then did some reshoots.
It might have been an addition of the Daredevil character in. They might not have had that deal done.
Maybe
they may have.
Well, they also had to redo a lot of CGI because it was really bad.
Yeah,
that
was
CGI is bad. I can forgive bad CGI.
The CGI is bad.
Imagination. Nothing's gonna be a Power Rangers movie of the '90s CGI.
Thank God.
That's my lowest bar that I'll handle.
Yeah, but while we're there, that newest Power Rangers movie is great.
Oh my goodness, yes. When they actually did the mountain running with the Zords, I was like, oh, and they played the original theme song. Oh my gosh, that was crazy. I did think it had a slow burn. They could have made the first hour 30 minutes, but
and I love they had a character that was on the spectrum, represented in there too. I was just really interesting choices for that whole movie that made it really fun to watch. Made Power Rangers not dollar store Voltron, or whatever we had before.
Recycled Japanese TV content. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know what it is, man. It's an anime trope. Like Japanese creators just love to put humans in bigger things, like in big robots, and put them together, and they make a bigger robot.
Yeah.
It's like when something gets real, what do? We make a bigger robot. But what if that big robot struggles? Well, let's combine it with another robot.
And then we'll give him a giant sword.
Another big robot. Yeah. And he turns into a gun. Crazy. Crazy, man.
One quick, just a little aside, since we're talking about bad effects in Marvel projects, have either of you actually seen the Harvey Korman Fantastic Four?
Which one is that?
Is that the first one?
That was the one that never got released.
Oh no!
Oh no! I've only seen clips.
There are bootleg copies.
Yeah,
of it
I've seen clips of it. I didn't know that existed until they mentioned it in season 5 of Arrested Development.
I didn't know it existed till now.
Yeah,
I had no idea.
Yeah, and it's true camp. I mean, it's.
Is it like Death of Superman with starring Nick Cage level?
Oh no, it's far worse.
That's another one that never got released. There's screenshots of him in the black Superman suit, and it just looks so.
By the way, speaking of never released,
so bad.
Moment of silence for Batgirl.
Yes, it died.
Michael Keaton. No one cares. Ezra Miller.
I love Michael Keaton. I think that movie probably deserved to die, but I think the reason it died wasn't the right reason. There's a lot of thoughts there, but it's confusing what happened. It's still a little confusing.
The way it was explained to me on my podcast, pop culture podcast that I listen to, basically the new head of DC wants movies just to be in the theaters. They want movies to go to theaters and TV shows to be on HBO Max. So this one, Batgirl, was supposed to go to HBO Max, and he was like, no. And I think he looked at it and was like, we're already 100 million in the hole. We're going to take it's going to take another 50 to promote it. And we're probably not going to get the subscribers we want. And he's like, we'll make more money on the tax break. And then because
that's what I heard,
because they deleted it all so fast, I think they were saying it's because if it gets out, like if it gets leaked or bootlegged or whatever, they don't get the tax break. So like they had to wipe it. Like supposedly they wiped it all from the servers.
Yeah,
Like
they
there's
did.
not
They
even
did
a
that with a lot of.
backup archive or anything.
They did that with
Um,
a lot of content they had coming up.
Yeah.
To do
So
that exact thing.
yeah. So I think he's saying
It's
like
shady,
we want
man.
movies to be movies, like big theatrical releases.
Yeah,
You know,
that's what
like
that's what he
Flashpoint.
says, but we all know that everything. Yeah, right. We know that everything kind of comes back to the bottom line, and with these executive types.
True. Someone told me
know,
that even after Batgirl, they're still like 300 million in the hole or
Yeah.
something like that. They've got a lot of ground to make up.
Yeah, not great.
Yeah.
And I hate that because I love HBO. I love HBO Max. That
Oh, no,
after-
that's just DC. I think that's not HBO. I think that's just DC.
Yeah,
Oh,
I think
DC's in the
they're
hole?
years. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's where the comics are all
Stop
woke.
making bad movies.
And they can't sell comics. You know,
Mhm.
the only comics that are in the top 25 are a couple of Batmans. Everything else is anime.
That's what I hear. I hear anime is where the stories are at, and I still
It's
or
great.
yeah, I want to
And
get
most of
more
those
into
are
that.
Batman.
I want to get more into the longer comics. I just bought that Fantastic Four Full Circle, gorgeous. Alex Ross, love it. Not the best writer, but the art is fantastic. And then I've got the Eric Ripa coming in a few weeks. I want to get into more of the long form graphic novels. I always only read serialized comics, and it's nice to get a full story all at once.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's all the graphic novels are. They just combine all those short runs into
Yeah.
into a
But
one book.
even if you get the trade, you know, they know there's a time, they know there's like time in between. And so either there's like redundancy, kind of like a TV show, or there's like giant time skips that don't need to be necessary, but it just makes sense because you're only releasing one issue a month or whatever it is. So yeah, I just like having that continuous. That's been fun to do. Anyways, Rings of Power.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be the only one here because I'm not really that much of a Lord of the Rings person, but
you know, Doug, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this. I know that this series started off with some serious handicaps in the studio side of things, of like not having the rights to some of the story elements,
Right.
and not having, and they have the rights to the characters but not really their stories. And like, how does that work? I mean, I think once again, corporate America ruins things, and that is one of the ways they do it, is with all these back alley deals. I guess.
Right, and the rights are not getting sorted out anytime soon.
Yeah, it's the same thing with Marvel characters and all that stuff.
Yeah, well, the company that controls the movie rights to the 4 main books that Peter Jackson did, that company has sold to another company who plans to exploit those rights further, and it is just a mess. And so most of the friends that I know that are watching the show are simply looking at it as if it is a massive fanfic that has been filmed.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. I like the show a lot. It's really it's exciting. It has all the elements of fantasy that you like. I mean, it's beautifully shot. You know, the acting I think is pretty good. You know, there's a lot of elements to it that's like they spent some money on. The CGI is pretty good. You know, I feel like
$1 billion.
The CGI is incredible.
It's got some good wins. It's got some good wins in the win column for it. It's just the legs are kind of knocked out from under it a little bit. But again, you kind of got to go into it and go, I didn't have Lord of the Rings show. Now I have Lord of the Rings show.
Right.
Let's appreciate that I have Lord of the Rings show and it's fun.
So
I think Galadriel is a great character, and I'm excited to explore more of that. But
okay,
it's just,
I want to add on to something that I heard, that it's like, again, it's a mindset shift. Okay, it's not fan fiction. What we now have is corporate fiction.
Yeah.
That's an interesting viewpoint.
Accurate.
Yeah.
And when you realize, okay, this
fanfic would have made Tom Bombadil the main character, and somehow he's in, the Silmarillion.
Fan fiction, I think the whole first episode would have just been the creation or whatever you call it.
Right.
So Silmarils and all that.
Let's start.
People freaking love Tom Bombadil.
They might not have rights to the Silmarillion, though. If they don't have rights to the Silmarillion, they can't do the creation of Middle Earth.
Yeah.
Right. But when is fan fiction concerned with rights?
And when you hear all that, you kind of got to go, well, why did you guys do the show? Like, you don't
corporate fiction.
You don't have what you need to do the show. Why did you do the show?
I discovered, oh man, speaking of fan fiction, I discovered a new rabbit hole on YouTube of comic book fan fiction. And it started with and they're all 15. I had no idea what a scene this is. It's all like 15-minute stories, perfectly shot by like graduate level cinematographers. The one I watched was Gambit, and it was like he was in a back alley deal, and then he got caught cheating, and he got into a chase scene. It was amazing. 15 minutes, better than half of Marvel TV. And then like all on the recommended is more 15-20-minute shows about Rogue, and there's some Batman stuff in there. I mean, it is well done. Like, that is fan fiction. In fact, there was I heard that there's a Joker movie at one of the film festivals, and DC sent a season. Like, that's fan fiction. This is corporate fiction. And I think, again, starting with the good, of course, I've always had a fondness for dwarves. I almost always play a dwarf in D&D. The dwarf stuff, I love it. I love Durin. I love his family. I love the mining. That's great. Although I think he does sound a little bit too much like, get in my belly, especially in the last episode. It's a little too much.
They're supposed to be that Scottish.
I know, but it's a little too much.
Hardy.
I love the dwarves. The Harfoots grew on me. The first episode, I was like, who are these gross people? Then after that, they kind of like go, like, they don't, and that is the Harfoots are great show don't tell. Where it's like, who are these gross people? But then after a couple episodes, I'm like, oh, that's why they're nomads. They have to camouflage at a moment's notice. That's why their hair's all messed. Like, it's great show don't tell. You mentioned Galadriel. I call her Mad Galad. I know other people call her other things. I can't stand her. I think if she had more of a prologue, then maybe I could understand, because I can understand what kind of character they're trying to develop, and how she's like she has this unrelenting passion to get revenge or for her brother and whatever else. Like, I get what they're trying to do, but it just comes off, she's just twitchy, and her nose is constantly flaring. I just can't. I don't know what it is exactly, but all those things combined, she's just like she's almost like a toxic masculinity female character. I just don't get it. I don't like it. I don't know.
Well, and it's just such a contrast.
I don't know how to describe it. And I don't know original. I'm not comparing her to original Galadriel, because again, I don't know that much about Lord of the Rings. It's just, I'm like, every time she's on here, I'm like, she's just stubborn-nosed, not going to listen to anyone, do her own thing, no matter the consequences.
She's not growing as a character.
Yeah.
You're not seeing character growth. And that's the problem with it, is that she's angry. You see why she's angry, and she's fighting, and she's seeking, and she's passionate. And and I've only had like 3 episodes, so who knows where it's going to go. But in the first 3 episodes, it's like until the scene where she's riding the horse and she's smiling and she's happy. It's like, that's another side of the character. Finally, that
was actually, a lot of people had a problem with that. I thought that was probably her best scene.
Yeah.
Because like, it hurt her to smile. Like, she's got so much pain, and it's like seeing Batman smile. She's got so much pain and torment, and she's like, she doesn't like that she's smiling. She's just gonna grin through it. And it's like, okay, sure. Like everyone makes fun of it because it was shot weird, but I mean, I thought that was. It reminded me
was.
of the original Lord of the Rings when they're galloping through the countryside or whatever. I thought that was fine.
Yeah. I mean, Lord of the Rings does have a history of filming some pretty cringy slow-mo stuff. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it's not off
The
brand.
slow-mo. So I watched episode 4. I did fall asleep during it, so
Okay.
it is what it is. I woke up at 4 this morning. The slow-mo got better in episode 4.
Good.
And the dwarves were in episode 4 a lot, so I really enjoyed episode 4.
Good. I like that storyline too. I'm interested to see how that goes. The whole point of the story is you're seeing how the elves, the dwarves, the humans all got kind of duped into creating the rings, and we haven't seen Sauron yet. At least we don't know if we have, and so that's all like still very mysterious. And I'm ready for some answers to start happening.
Yeah. Yeah, they're almost opening. You know, I love mystery boxes. I feel like they have too many mystery boxes and they're not opening them enough.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Sauron may already
go ahead.
I would say Sauron may have already shown up. You got to remember that he is an elf.
Yeah.
So
wait. No, he's a mayor. He's a wizard.
I think he's an elf.
He's a wizard that takes it's like the same being as the wizards, but they take the form of the Balrogs eventually. Like Sauron eventually is a Balrog. He's the same as the big fire demon that you see. That's a form they can take. They can also take the form of a human, you know, like they have the ability to do that. And so because of the shape shifting kind of nature, and we've seen clips of the actor who's going to play Sauron later, so we know in human form. So we kind of know what he looks like there, but we don't know what he's doing now because he could be somebody else. And a lot of people are thinking that the guy that fell from the sky, the meteor man, might be him. They think it might be Gandalf, but no wizards were in Middle Earth during the Second Age. You know, they didn't come till the Third. So but again, this show's not really following the lore. So it could be Gandalf.
I thought my stylist, I got a haircut yesterday. I thought she said she thinks it's Saruman that fell.
It could be Saruman.
Thought, okay.
There's two blue wizards we don't know. It could be one of them. You know, because there's 5 wizards. We met Radagast, Gandalf, and Saruman, and that's all we know. But there's 2 others, and they're both quote blue wizards. And Tolkien just was like, yeah, and there's some blue wizards, and then not another word in everything else he wrote. And so we're like, tell us about the blue wizards. Wizards clearly do cool stuff. What were they doing? Why didn't they come help? You know, so there's a lot going on there. But
it comes down to, again, if this was not Lord of the Rings, would I be watching it? Yeah, probably not.
It's probably not. I mean, and the other thing they're doing that's kind of confusing is they are doing what's called a condensed timeline. And, you know, you've got characters in parts of time and history of the story that aren't really supposed to be there. And it's like, okay, I thought we were further from the war, but here's these characters that are instrumental in the war. And it just doesn't make sense. So it kind of reminds me, like in Lord of the Rings with Fellowship, you know, when they do some of that in certain moments. So like when Gandalf leaves after he tries to touch the ring and he sees the eye and he's like, oh my gosh, I gotta go. I got questions. And he leaves. Frodo's like, well, you just got here. And so he has him hide the ring and then he goes. Like 20 years passes before the time he comes back. And in the movie, it's like, next week, I'll see you next week, you know?
Yeah.
And he went out and he was looking for Gollum and he was with Aragorn and they had adventures and he lost his trail in Mordor and they actually tracked him to Mordor. And that's how he knew that the enemy found him first and all of that. So when he comes back in the window and he scares, you know, Frodo, he's like, where's the ring? So the ring's just been in an envelope for 20 years. You know, it's like, didn't even know what he had, like could have just left it alone, man. But they knew where he was. So that's a condensed timeline. So it just feels really quick. And they're doing a lot of that in this film. So I'm not sure how time is passing. And it might be because elves live like, you know, forever. And when you want to time jump to these important events, but you don't want to have to recast humans and constantly be changing out characters and learning who's this now with these elves.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of moving parts, and I just don't know that it's not something you can really cover a wide berth of time really well. So it's got challenges, but again, I think a lot of good things about it. It's worth watching. I'd give it an 8 just because I like it. If you really care about the lore or you don't really care about fantasy or whatever, you might give it lower.
Yeah, I'd give it a 6. We didn't really talk about the elves, but I guess we talked about Galadriel, the other main elf. I call Neil Patrick Elrond.
He does kind of look like
he's pretty good. I mean, I watch these things on my phone and my iPad, and I'm like, is that Neil Patrick Harris? No, it's
Elrond Hauser, MD.
Budget. They spent all their budget on CGI, so they only got his understudy.
Yeah.
Tell me if you thought there's a little sexual tension between him and Galadriel, right? Did you feel a little bit of that?
I felt more like a brother. I thought maybe they were related, like maybe they had some other brotherly tension, tension.
That's one of the problems. Like every time he
isn't she married?
He says she's my friend. Like when it's hard to say she's his friend, like he's been friend zoned.
Yeah.
And he doesn't like it. And that's kind of the vibe he gives off. But
friend zone must be worse when you're an elf.
Oh God, how long it lasts, right? It's forever. But technically, according to lore, Elrond actually marries Galadriel's daughter, and they have Arwen. So Arwen is the granddaughter of Galadriel. So for Elrond to be like, I'm into Galadriel is getting weird. It's like House of Dragon weird now, starting to get into strange stuff. It's just weird. It's a weird thing. Like I hope they don't do that. I don't really want to see that as a romantic interest.
I keep hearing they've got 5 seasons. They've got the timeline. I'm hoping this isn't another case of
5 seasons.
They said they are doing this for 5 seasons. They are gonna try to get their money back, and they've supposedly got a timeline. And right now it feels a little bit. It's one of those things where it's like it's drawn out, like not much has happened. There's a lot of prettiness, but what's happening? There's not a lot of. It's just more and not so then so
it's like
that
Fellowship. It's like Fellowship of the Ring. It's a lot of
a little bit
character building, world building.
So it is 6 out of 10. If it wasn't Lord of the Rings, I wouldn't be watching it, but maybe I don't know. Arendelle, their thing is fine.
He's awesome.
The whole villages. Although I feel like it. I don't know. I don't know. You can find errors with everything. I'm not going to just point out errors, but it's all right.
They're in the Southlands, like they're basically in Mordor. That storyline. Which is interesting because it's green, it's lush. It's before it became the wasteland, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
that's hard about the show. It's like there's a lot of places in the show. The map is hard to follow. It was hard to follow in the original films, but now it's like here's a bunch of the same places, but they got different names now. And
again, like I see people complaining about that on Twitter, but I'm like, I just don't know enough. I'm on the outside.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm really just judging this for its creativity, and I'm seeing some
Doug?
Beautiful CGI. I'm just not seeing great stories.
To be honest, I have avoided it because I am a Tolkien purist. And what was most telling to me that I feel my reaction was correct is that Amazon removed the ability to review and comment on the show.
Well, I think that had to do more with like the hate comments they were getting.
Still,
if
you're going to do a property like that, you need to take the heat, good and bad.
Yeah, some. I agree. Some there's some lines I think that were crossed, and I feel like that's a big reason why.
Did they ever get crossed? Did they have reviews and then take them down, or did they not even have it up?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I don't have problems with what a lot of the people had said were bad. It's like I don't have problems with various races within the races. And just that this seems absurd to me. And
me
but I think that wasn't prepared for, as you was talking about the condensed timeline and stuff. I was just like, you just can't do it. But you just can't do it. You know.
And there's going to be a lot of people that really are passionate about this world. They love it. It's like Star Wars. Any kind of fandom,
Right.
really have a big world that you've built. There's a certain way it works. There's a certain set of rules, you know. And when you make a property that's official, and then you break those rules, you know, i.e. the sequel trilogy of Star Wars, you know, breaks a lot of rules for
corporate fiction.
Yeah, and
Or
it's just
the Calvin timeline in Star Trek.
Or Star Trek,
You know?
yeah.
Yeah, the Calvin timeline with Chris
Pine.
Spock guys. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think there's just a lot of passion there, and sometimes, you know, it comes with the territory. You're gonna get kicked back, and you got to go out there and just kind of do your thing. But I think when you start getting death threats and, you know, horrible stuff like that going on, it's like,
I wouldn't want that. I'm just.
But I say that to say, like, I understand. Like, I am exhausted, and I know this is a podcast like of three guys just giving their opinions about stuff. I'm kind of exhausted of getting everybody's opinion. It's like I don't really need it, you know. Like there's and when you're hiding behind the internet, you know, it's like, oh, I'm so brave. Like you're not that brave. Like, come on. I think there's just like lately so many things I'm holding back. You know, there's things to still talk about online that might be, or, you know, people disagree with or whatever, and that's fine. But like, there's so much I don't say that I really want to say, because it's like they don't need my opinion on this. It doesn't matter. And I think that's why they just shut it down. It's like, let's just make something, and we know it's not exactly pure, whatever.
So. And with my opinion, I had the opportunity. I could have gone on there and said whatever, and I just didn't. You know, what would have been the point of me getting on there and squalling about something?
It's like, to quote Switchfoot, if I'm adding to the noise, then turn off this song.
Right.
If we're adding to the noise, just turn off this song. Like, we don't need it. And I think that's good, wise advice from musicians. Anyway.
So let's talk about real fan fiction. Not real fan fiction, but good fiction. House of the Dragon. That last episode was a little rough, but overall, the series,
dude, it's
hard. I can't comment on this one because I have not watched Game of Thrones, and I purposely avoided it because of the content in it.
Yeah.
And so, and I just don't like George R.R. Martin as a person.
There's a lot to work with there. Yeah.
And now I'm not saying he's not a good writer. His Wild Card book series, superb, but that wasn't all him. It was a shared universe. But I mean, if you're not going to write the last book in the series, just say, I've got so much cash. I'm doing I'm Scrooge McDuck swimming in the basement in my cash.
You know what's funny though?
I'm not going to write the book.
You know what's funny is, like, all these interviews he's doing now for House of the Dragon, he's like comparing how good it's going with House of the Dragon versus that last season of Game of Thrones. And we're like, you could have just written the book, man. They didn't have anything to work with. It's kind of your fault. So you really don't have anything to say here.
Yeah.
But he's a weird dude. He's a.
Did you hear? Okay. So we was talking about Gur Martin. Did you hear he still like writes on a 1998 laptop, and he doesn't use Word? He uses the old. What was the main word program before
Word Perfect?
WordPerfect.
That's what I learned on.
He writes still on Word Perfect with no internet, and that's how he writes. And I respect, right?
Hey, so, a real writer would just write it on notepaper by hand.
So either
have sheets everywhere, or maybe a typewriter.
The conspiracy is that, which I don't believe. The conspiracy is season 8 of Game of Thrones was his ending, and it was so bad received, he's locked because he doesn't want to change it. However,
he gave him
the points. Don't think he wrote Game of Thrones season 8 spoilers. I don't think he would write, after all the setup, Arya killing the Night King. I don't think he would write that. That setup makes no sense. That's corporate fiction. I don't think he would write that.
I don't know.
It has to be Jon Snow.
Say he did or not. Yeah, I mean, it would be nice if it was, but the way the show works, it kind of does make sense that it's just some rando, like, and she wasn't random. She was a big part of the show. And it's kind of cool that she got to be the one, but she killed him with the right knife and it fulfilled the prophecy and all that. But
that's the thing is like, I think House of the Dragons is going to retcon, and like the prince that was promised is really the knife.
Yeah. Yeah. The knife is actually named Prince.
Yeah.
And
the
like
knife.
nobody knew that.
And High Valerian Prince was not only gender neneutral, but also could have been an object.
It also meant knife. It could have been Prince, could have been knife.
Yeah. House of the Dragon, I love the first few episodes. Watch it's actually it's one of the only show me and my wife watch together, and it's that last episode was icky, to quote my stylist.
Yeah, it was.
And it's one of those things where I'm like, my wife's like, ew, what are they doing? I'm like, they're Targaryen. That's what they do. Did you not watch the intro and take meticulous notes like I do of the family tree? But I mean, first of all, we've got dragons, which is awesome. Didn't have much in Game of Thrones. The characters are complex. The characters, especially Rhaenyra, I think is a fantastic character. The king, fantastic character. His internal conflicts, the manipulation, the political stuff that's happening.
There's so much.
It's so good. These characters, like you were saying, like Galadriel is kind of one-sided for 4 episodes. These characters change every episode, and I love it. It's really good. And part of that's too. They are doing time jumps. They are doing time jumps. Yeah, every episode takes place. There's like a year in between every episode, and they're doing it really well. And I never read the books, but my wife is like, I've never read. She read the whole Game of Thrones up to whatever he left it at. But she's like, I've never read such good, well-written female characters than in Game of Thrones. Apparently, they're written really well, and I think that's translating on screen. Yeah,
because man, the translation seemed pretty. Icky is a good word, but like not portrayed well. A lot of women had problems with the way that the women were portrayed, and the actors in those roles had problems with how they were.
Really? No, I didn't hear that.
It was a lot of like gratuitous almost, like we have to show some of this stuff. Like maybe
she said
in the book you're not seeing that stuff. Obviously,
she said
it's not
none of that's in the book. That's all HBO.
Yeah,
what she said.
That's kind of the stuff
that's a problem. But I mean, but it's like they have complex, they have intuition, they have drive, they have conflict that's outside of men. It's when they pass that test, whatever it is. She's like, it's just that she's like, I haven't read anything like. She read like the whole series in like 2 weeks. It was ridiculous. But yeah, the House of the Dragon, I'm really enjoying. I feel like House of the Dragon is exactly what Rings of Power should have been. Which is like complex characters with really good internal, external, philosophical. Like, dude, when the queen that never was, whatever her name was, she's like, the men could have had me as their queen, but they voted for a man. And Rhaenyra's like, they didn't just vote for a man, they voted not you. Right? Like that was like, oh snap. Like she was like strong, vicious. Right.
And Rhaenyra is loved, man. People love this actress who's playing the part. I forget her name, but she's doing a fantastic job in that role. Like people are going to go, and we know the time jump is coming when it's older Rhaenyra, and they're like, we don't want that. Let's keep watching this one, because she is so like, she's definitely a young girl coming into her own, but she's also like, she's strong, she's fierce. I
love the scene. I mean, again, talking about everything that Rings of Power should be. When she's the cupbearer in the meeting, I'm gonna over explain this for Doug, and she's like, hey, why don't we just send a dragon over and get our stuff back? And they're all like, no, we can't do that, we're gonna send the hand and a troop of 20, and they go and they're just arguing, and then she shows up on a dragon and she gets the stuff back on her own.
She drops on the dragon's like, I'll take
Yeah.
that, please.
Yeah, it was like that was awesome. She didn't spit and huff and say how it was unfair and
Yeah.
and twitch and walk off. She was like, no, I'm
She
gonna take
dropped
care of
in and she's like, I am
dropped
not
in,
here to negotiate.
got business done, and left everyone with their jaws open. And then, of
Yep.
course, when they were mad, she was like, dude, we would have gone, this would have started a war.
Yeah.
And I
exactly.
stepped up and prevented war. And, you know, and it's like,
and
dude,
speaking of that
is great.
Doctor Who, you know, Matt Smith, Doctor Who, playing is Aegon Targaryen, the brother, trying to defeat the Crabber King, you know, the whole time, and it going poorly until finally his brother's like, I'm sending help. I'm gonna come help you because you can't get it done. And he's just like, screw that. I'm gonna go kill them all myself.
He goes full on suicide mode
through there and just takes everybody out.
And that's his complex character. I would rather die doing this alone than live with your help.
Yeah, I would rather die trying to do this by myself.
Yeah, and he does it.
And
that was a poorly written fight scene, though. Let me just send everyone at you one at a time. But it was so well shot, you didn't really care.
Mm-hmm. It's like everybody dancing around the karate movies, you know, waiting their turn to jump in, let the guy beat them up.
No, you can't go yet. It's not your turn.
Speaking of karate movies, I guess we could switch over to like Cobra Kai. Have you watched Cobra Kai?
Well, scale of 1 to 10, Seth. What do you think about House of the Dragon?
House of the Dragon, I'm conflicted because I take points for the grotesque, you know, stuff. So I'm going to say 6 or 7. Because of, you know, that, but story, characters, fun, excitement, you know, just love the lore, love the storytelling, dragons. I mean, CGI is awesome. Everything looks great. It's fantastic. It's way better than
it's a little bit better because I watch it with my wife. So whenever crap hits the screen, I'm like, we just look at each other and just adore her, and I'm like, whatever.
And I'm like, fast
that
forward,
awkward thing.
fast forward. Don't need this.
So, but like, you know, like my pastor says, you know, oh gosh, there's a word I can't remember, but he's like, lost people are going to be lost people. Like, what do you expect? It's a worldly show. They're going to do worldly things. I'm not watching Faith. What's that Faith channel? Anyways,
we probably should at some point have a discussion on this show about, you know, what we watch, you know, and how that affects us and how you deal with it. And, you know, all that kind of stuff. We probably should at some point discuss that. So I'm throwing that in the hat. We should talk about it. But
sure. We can do that. And
what'd you think?
Yeah.
House of Dragon. What was your rating?
Oh, for me, man, 8.5, 8.5 or 9. I mean, I just can't give it a 10 because of that stuff. Same reason why I love Iron Man, but when I watched it with my daughter, I mean, even Iron Man 1, there's the freaking strip club on the plane. Fast forward, you know? Can't give it a perfect 10. Like I can Thor 2 The Dark World, you know? So
there ain't nothing in that.
There ain't nothing in that.
Nothing to watch in
there. You can't escape it. Then again, I'm to a fault a heavy spiritual libertarian. Like, you know, you do you, and I view that as a liberty thing. So yeah, I give it a 8.5. I really, because it's just so, and maybe it's the time that we're in. Rings of Power is a disappointment. She-Hulk's a disappointment. Kenobi was a disappointment to me. We already talked about that. I still wish someone else would watch Miss Marvel. I can't talk about Miss Marvel and how great it was.
You can talk about it. I'm just not gonna. You're not gonna spoil it for me.
She's a mutant. What were we gonna talk about next? Cobra Kai. Anyone watch Cobra Kai? It's on my list.
I love Cobra Kai. I haven't started on this season, but I've loved all the rest, and I loved how they honored the movies and then dealt with it and moved on.
Mm-hmm. Have they moved on?
Well, but I mean, they're not like
they keep honoring the movies,
refilming the movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I like that they're moving through the movies. Like the first couple seasons were Karate Kid, and the next one introduced characters from Karate Kid 2, and now they're dealing with characters from Karate Kid 3.
I'm enjoying it. I'm about 2 episodes into this new season, and I'm kind of like, I don't think my wife's going to be able to watch anymore. It's so cheesy. It unbelievably cringy in so many moments, but like the only thing I think it really has for going for it is that there's a severe nostalgia element for us who loved that story and that growing up with Karate Kid and all the things that happened to him, which if you go back and watch those movies, they're kind of cringy too, but not like this.
Oh yeah.
You know, but these movies are like, hey, who from which movie are we bringing back this season? And finding out that they still do karate like a cardboard cutout. What are we going to do? You know, have a fight scene that's probably one of the most believable scenes you'd see, like two 40-year-old men fighting some karate. Like, yeah, that's what it would look like. It's not super exciting to watch, but there's a lot of good story elements to it. I love Johnny and trying to patch up, you know, things with his kid. And then he's got Miguel, who's kind of his new like stepson, that, you know, he's kind of working into that role and like trying to balance that out and be a good guy. Johnny's the most interesting thing about this whole series. He's really the only one I'm tuning in to watch. Like, what's happening with Johnny?
Yeah, I actually saw a unique take, and again, I haven't watched any of season 5, so I don't know if this makes it better or worse. But I saw a unique take from another pastor friend of mine on Twitter. He was like, "There's no good characters in the show," which I thought that's interesting. But he's of course it's a tweet; you can't get that much text.
Oh,
but
there is.
He's like Johnny's. What did he say? Johnny's an ignoramus. Johnny and what was I can't even remember his name.
Daniel.
Daniel is he's your goofball dad, your whatever.
I would say the good character in the whole film is his wife. Is Daniel's wife.
Yeah,
she is the only one going, why are we still freaking out about karate? You're adults.
I think that's kind of his point, is like Johnny's Daniel is kind of like a sitcom family, like a sitcom goofball dad, and his wife is the only one with the head on her shoulders.
A little bit.
It got a little crazy at like I mean, come on, the school fight and then breaking into the dojo in season 4 and fighting there.
That's a little over the top. That school fight got serious though.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I went to public school in Houston. I saw my fair share of pools of blood. But after fights, but nothing like
the school. The school we recently moved, and one of the reasons was schools. We pulled our kids out of this public school, and you know, near our house. And one day at school, we got this email that something had happened at the school, and somebody had shoved a kid off the top of the stairs, and they had landed on the staircase below. And I was like, that's like Cobra Kai. That's like the same thing,
except real murderous or
yeah, but like they went to the hospital, but they were fine. They apparently landed just right, you know, where he didn't in the film, in the show. And you know, that could have been so bad, but we were like, yeah, we're getting out of here. Like, can you imagine? And not only that, somebody gets pushed down the stairs. My kids don't go to public school. Yeah, but like, not even a kid gets pushed down the stairs, but imagine in real life before that, there had been a giant karate fight all over the school.
Yeah.
Actually, that would have probably been an upgrade to my school.
What?
I mean, yeah. So yeah, I haven't watched it, but it's on my list. As soon as I get past there's so many concurring shows. Every day I have something new to watch. Speaking of shows that are inappropriate, there's a show on AMC. Kevin Can F Himself. It's an incredibly inappropriate title. It's a fantastic premise. So it's about a woman played by Annie Murphy, who's one of the girls from Schitt's Creek. And she's the wife in an unhappy marriage, but that unhappy marriage is to your typical sitcom dad or sitcom husband, where any scene that the husband is in is shot like your typical 4-camera sitcom with a laugh track and bright lights and everything.
Oh my
But as soon as the husband leaves the room or she leaves the room, it turns into a dramatic single camera drama. And it's so like, just watch the first 10 minutes and it intros like the King of Queens. It really is like watching your old 2000s Everybody Loves Raymond, King of Queens comedies. But as soon as she leaves, it turns into basically Breaking Bad. It's so... And the interesting thing is, like, you know, the whole premise is she's trying to figure out how to kill her husband or fake her death so she can leave the relationship. And everyone's like, why? You got a perfect husband. Isn't your husband great? It's because her husband is like this manipulative jerk, but it's shot in a way that's like a sitcom hidden with a laugh track. Like you realize the things we laugh at in sitcoms are actually kind of emotional abuse. It's very interesting. It's only 2 seasons, and the second season comes out on Monday. So that's what I watch on Mondays.
Weird.
It's the premise is so unique and it's
Yeah.
so well done. I
don't know
love it.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Right? I don't know how I feel
that.
about it either. It's kind of weird. You're watching a woman. It's like watching Breaking Bad. Like eventually you're like, I'm cheering for the drug dealer that's dealing drugs to thousands of kids, you know, like that's pretty bad, but it's an interesting story. That's kind of what this is. Very interesting. And then Wednesday, Stargirl comes out. Thursday, She-Hulk comes out, and Friday, and Rings of Power comes out. Sunday, House of the Dragon comes out. Then you got now football started back up. We're coming to the end of baseball. So that's why I haven't watched A Long Walk to a Short Drink of Water. That's why I haven't watched Cobra Kai yet, because it's like there's just so much stuff coming out every day.
Wow. Yeah. Man, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't like shows that portray, because it became a trope. Like TV dads are dumb, and therefore men are dumb. And I mean, it's kind of like an over pendulum swing from TV back in the day when men were smart and made the money, and women were stay home moms and they didn't know anything. So it was kind of a flip. So I don't like either one of those tropes, but still, like I don't know how I feel about that. It sounds really interesting. I'll have to see a show. I'll have to see one of them. What platform is it on?
It was on Amazon Prime. I don't know if it's still there. I watched season 1 on Amazon Prime. And then season 2 is on AMC right now. So I just recorded on my DVR because I still pay for cable.
Do you really?
I do. It's like $7. It's like with our cable plan, gigabit internet and home security for $100, or we can also add cable for $10, and you get free HBO Max and Peacock, and it's like, okay, that's fine. Add it on,
So I feel like I should get a discount for having cable TV. Like I'll let you give me cable if you take $10 off my list.
They literally do. There's another show I listen to called Cord Killers, and it's all about it cutting the cord. But he's like, my internet is $100, or if I add cable, it's $90. And he's like, the customer support lady was literally like, we're gonna mail you the cable box, just put it in your closet. You never even have to hook it up, but you get $10 off your internet just for having a cable box, right?
Yeah, just don't lose it when we ask you to send it back.
Exactly. That's why he said, like, just keep it in your closet, just keep it in the corner. So it's like literally like we just have, and that's how I watch football games, right? We have one cable box, but they also have a Roku app. And so we just have cable in all our rooms. And
it's interesting what's happening there. Man, now you've got a lot of different streaming apps, and so entertainment is becoming just as expensive as cable used to be. Only the advantage now is it is on demand. Like you can choose things. You don't have to wait for stuff like you do with cable.
You know how many times DVR. I've asked the family, hey, can I cancel Hulu this month? My wife's like, no, I'm watching this show. All right, fine. Can I cancel Netflix? My daughter's, I'm watching this show. I'm like, well, I'm watching HBO. So I guess I'm not going to cancel anything.
We just had that same conversation. Like, what can we do without? Like, well, we're all kind of using
We're all kind of watching everything all around.
Yeah.
And then my wife is like, why do we pay for YouTube? Who pays for you? I'm like, no, I am not watching YouTube ads. I pay for YouTube Premium. I cannot imagine YouTube ads.
$12 every month. Yes.
Yeah. I know that Peacock now has put out a free version where you can get some pretty good stuff, and you get like the first 6 seasons of The Office for free, but there are commercials.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to trade that off. But to upgrade is only like $5. $5 a month for premium, no commercials.
Or just get cable.
Yeah. But then Paramount has some great stuff. Paramount's where all the Star Trek stuff is.
Right.
It's all your CBS shows, all your crime shows and dramas and things like that are all over there now.
Yellowstone, is that on Paramount?
Now, there's one thing about CBS, the Paramount, you don't get CSI, I mean, not CSI, but NCISLA as part of the package.
Yeah, because it's still on like Netflix or Hulu or wherever, so they still got a contract.
No. You get everything except the current season. Whereas, like the old NCIS, you get it as it shows, but not LA. You have to buy it.
Well, maybe they know that they do because they can. I don't know.
Well, I know why they do it. Yeah, but
yeah, it's interesting. It's getting complicated. Like, I told my dad, like, I went with my dad to the cable store because I'm like, hey, I really like my plan. They gave me a really good router. I've got really fast internet. I've got some extra stuff here to mesh your house network, your house. I literally went to the cable place with my dad, and I was like, whatever I have, give him. Don't ask me any questions. Don't ask him any questions. You just give my plan, duplicate it, give it to him. I'm going to set it up. Don't ask me any questions. Like, don't try to upsell me. Don't try to downsell me. Give it to him, because I know how complicated it can be. And he's going to end up with a home phone paying $200 and he lives by himself. Right? Like, no, it's just way too, like, I had to dig.
I sent you a message on the plan that I have today,
but I love it. Internet, home security, and cable, plus HBO Max, plus Peacock Premium. Like, it's a good deal.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I mean, for what we pay, I think it's a great deal.
We have the Hulu bundle with Disney Plus, and bundled all those things together with HBO Max.
I try to avoid those bundles. Cheap. I feel part of it's being raised. When I was growing up, I always wanted,
I was raised.
When I was reared, I always wanted a TV VCR and eventually a TV DVD combo.
Yeah.
I thought those were the coolest things. You didn't have to worry about setting the VCR to 3 when Power Rangers was on 24 or whatever. Like, it was all confusing. My dad would never buy me one because if the VCR went out, you had to replace the whole TV, or if the TV went out, you had to. And so because of that, and the ironic thing is, I did have a roommate with a broken DVD embedded into the TV. It didn't work. Right? It was funny. He had a DVD player connected to the TV that had DVD because the DVD. Okay. Anyways, so I'm always weary of bundles, and it's like, I don't want to get Disney Plus bundled with Hulu, because if I want to cancel one, I have to cancel all of them and then sign up with both of them. And I'm like, it's all separate. I don't even want Netflix with my T-Mobile bill. Keep it separate.
Yeah, you don't though. You don't have to do that. But
no,
that's another conversation.
Yeah.
But still, I get it. I think your dad was right. I think you don't want the DVD VCR combo with the TV.
Yeah.
They're cool. And they're always 13-inch. They were always 13-inch. Like, why? Why do you make it so small?
And now I'm at the same point too, where it's like, I just want a dumb TV. It was a nightmare trying to find a TV for our game room when we finally upgraded our house and we have a second living room upstairs. Thank you, Nerd Pastors listeners, for supporting us. This podcast pays for all that. No, I'm just kidding. Not really.
What? I was like, what? You getting paid?
This podcast cost me money. But I married nicely. We were trying to find a second TV for the game room, and it's like, you just can't get a dumb TV. I'm like, I want a dumb TV, and it's like, well, we have this 48-inch monitor for $3,000, or you can get an 80-inch TV for $700. And it's like, seriously,
are you talking about like a square old school square TV?
Just a flat screen TV that doesn't have Android, doesn't have Samsung. You turn it on, you flip video input. That's it.
Yeah,
I don't want anything else on it.
Have you
tried
to find or price one of those flat square TVs, like a 20-inch TV from
like an old CRT TV?
Yeah, like you could just go to the pawn shop.
You just go to the pawn shop. That's
still,
how I price it.
They're like $75-$100.
Yeah, they're getting into vinyl prices. Yeah.
You're like, why? This is a TV nobody wants,
because they know the nerds want it to play old school Smash Brothers in the ratio that it should be played in, or Nintendo.
And it does look better on those TVs.
It does. It really does.
Well, you're talking about these televisions. Let me age myself for you two just a bit. The first personal television I owned was a 12-inch black and white with a single rabbit ear, and the VCP. It didn't record; it just played. That I plugged into it. I had to use one of those little screw splitters that had the coax on one end, and it came out to the little rabbit ear prongs on the other.
Yep.
Okay, but did you have a remote control?
No remote control.
No remote.
No.
No,
I was gonna say,
No,
and
no,
if you
no,
did,
it
how
was-
many
it was-
buttons did it have?
no, Doug. My first TV we had in the living room was one of those that sits on the
It had
floor.
a UHF and a VHF dial clicker. And the funny thing is that little television picked up like 6 channels locally. And
Yeah.
my parents' TV that was on a 100-foot CV tower picked up 1.
Yep. We had the same kind of setup. We had one of those console TVs that was made out of like 8,000 pounds of wood around it. And
Yeah,
it sat on the floor and it had a keypad on it. And my dad would go, Seth, get up, turn to channel 3. And I'd
yeah.
punch in 3. All right, turn to channel 12. And that's how we channel surfed, because you had kids and then they went and changed. to
I
channel 3.
was the remote control. Just
There
like
was no
you.
remote. Yeah.
Yep,
It's
it was
crazy
me.
times. But those TVs, you could play duck hunt on those.
Mhm.
And,
Right.
you know, and that's why you want the
Yeah, the
2-inch
CRT. Yeah.
Magnavox from from
I mean,
96.
and
The
speaking
Zenith.
of duck hunt, Seth,
Zenith.
speaking
was
of
my
duck
TV.
hunt, Seth, did you know that the second controller controlled the duck?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know
did.
that.
I did.
Yeah, but now-
We used to play that way with each other. You know, we would, you kind of had a head-to-head competition for like controlling the duck. And I mean, literally it's like, and go, and you're like, just nearly break that controller trying to get it to go wild and crazy. It's so hard to hit.
Now, I never had a Nintendo like that. My first video game machine was a dedicated Pong machine. That's all it did. Was
Yeah.
Pong. Yep.
I had the 3-game one. It had ice hockey, handball, tennis.
There you go. Yep.
And your controller was wired in and it had a little switch
Mhm.
and a button. Good
Yep.
times. Good times.
Kids today would die.
Now they're like, now it's like I'm playing through a movie, and you're, there's a challenge level of the old school games that today you only get when you do the one, the first person shooter, massive online stuff. That's really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there was nothing more challenging than old school arcade games. I mean,
Yeah.
even, I took my daughter. We have an arcade, but it's like pay $20, you're there all day.
Yeah, those are
and
great.
she's like, these games are impossible, and I'm like, I know.
Yeah.
It was that way for a reason.
But you also know it's like, it's so simple. I should be able to do this, and you keep coming back
Yep.
because you're
But you know you've
convinced
got
that
just the right pixel to jump or you die.
it's all
Not
about
speed,
rhythm,
it's a
man.
pixel.
Pixel perfect. Pixel perfect. Last show on our list, Stargirl. Me and Doug are watching that. Doug got me onto it.
Stargirl is so awesome.
It's
And-
better. It's better than it really is. Reminds me of first seasons of Flash and Arrow. I mean, it's
Yeah.
they stopped trying to be all inclusive. Like the characters make sense.
Mhm.
They don't have entire episodes around a romantic gay relationship, which
Right.
you want to do that. That's fine. But it's a superhero show, right? Like it makes no sense.
Yep.
So it's like
Sounds
it's
like it's
really
not
good
fun.
show. The characters are great. Kids are a little annoying, but it's
There's
fun.
a little
It's really
bit of
good.
teen angst, but it's not an overwhelming teen angst
Yeah.
thing. It's kind of like what you really would expect if you were, 14 and 15 years old, and all of a sudden you had world-shattering powers.
Mhm.
I mean, how do you deal with that? So,
Yeah, there are consequences to their actions. She learns her lessons, and all the characters do really. It's a lot of fun. I love Beth Chapel. She's my favorite. Dr. Midnight.
Yes.
she's awesome. Some of them
Have
can
you-
get annoying. Hour Man, the kid that plays Hour Man, is a little annoying.
yeah.
But,
Did you say you haven't watched this week's episode?
I have not watched this week's episode.
I won't spoil anything, but let's just say Starman has an interesting leak. So,
Okay. I love Joel McHale. He's one of my favorite actors. And so when he came on as a series regular for season 3, I was very excited. Maybe
yeah,
this
he
last
does a
episode will
great
ruin
job,
that for me.
So.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
one of the things is I'm wondering if they will eventually tie this into the Black Adam stuff that they're getting ready to release, because that's all Jeff Johns' JSA world.
Hmm. I don't know.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. There's a lot of that Justice League of America kind of. You said Justice Society. You said
Justice Society.
Yeah,
Justice
because we
Society.
get to see the Justice
It's really
Society in Black Adam.
The RC
And
Cola
Justice
of
Society.
comic book teams.
It's different. It's really different. I have low hopes for the Black Adam film.
I do too.
I believe
We
in
already
The
talked
Rock.
about this because I don't think it's a character The Rock can play. So either they're gonna rock up Black Adam or they're going to mess up The Rock. I don't think he has the charisma. I think he's got too much charisma to play that role.
He looks kind of silly in the suit. And I've always thought that the whole Shazam attire through the whole thing.
True. But Shazam
and
was such a
goofy.
good movie. I love Shazam. That was great.
Seth, you got to remember that one of Captain Marvel's. I'll age myself there. Hang on a second.
We still got your audio. Your video's cutting out, but we still got your audio.
Stupid phone. Anyway, now I'm back. Okay, but you got to remember that one of the Captain Marvel nicknames has always been the Big Red Cheese, all the way with the character. So being cheesy is just part of the character.
Yeah, he was cooler as the kid. Just let the kid have the powers and let them be the kid. The kid was cooler than and I love Zachary Levy.
Yeah. Levy. Zachary Levi Levy.
Chuck from Chuck. I love Chuck.
I mean, he did bulk up well for the role, though. So
did he though?
Really? Have you seen him in the football movie he was in?
No, I have not.
Yeah, he played Kurt Warner in a movie. And
my dad said that movie was good.
It is a really good movie. It's a really good faith movie. I highly recommend it. It's you guys would like it, especially if you like football. It's a really,
I only like
really
stuff with
movie.
Incest and violence and apparently.
All right, clip that.
But no,
that's the intro.
Social media post right there.
Gratuitous violence and all that stuff. Apparently, it's all I like.
And he actually does have those muscles. So
does he?
Yeah.
Any other fall TV shows we're watching? The only other thing I've been watching is Reservation Dogs. A fantastic show. Yeah.
Oh.
That's a Taika Waititi show that's actually not funny enough.
Yeah. Is that the one where he goes, Knife Man? Or is that show?
I don't know if I remember that part.
It's a different show. There's another show about Native Americans on a reservation. It was kind of a dark comedy, and I wanted to say it was that one.
Maybe it was. Maybe I just don't remember that. There is a
Knife Man. That's it.
There is a spirit that comes back every once in a while, and he's hilarious. Yeah. But yeah. Anyways, that's a real fun show. I think it just wrapped up season 2, but I think that's all I've been watching. After we've been talking for an hour and a half.
Well, I've started watching a little bit of Sandman. I'm just into the first episode. It looks pretty good.
Is it good? I heard it was good.
We started that too. It's interesting. I don't know anything about it, so I'm going in fully.
I like Neil Gaiman. That's the Neil Gaiman one, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know anything about it, but I know Neil Gaiman makes good stuff.
Jenna Coleman is in it, and probably my favorite companion from the Doctor Who days, Matt Smith days. She's Clara Oswald. She was Clara Oswald in Doctor Who. She's in it. She's great, and a very dark character for her. You know, it's kind of used to her being the peppy, bubbly, fun type, and so it's a different than I've ever seen. So I like that. I like the show. It's interesting to see how it all is. The story's developing already in just 2 seasons. It's pretty. 2 episodes that we've seen. It's pretty great.
Yeah, it's and there's just so much material. There's just like decades of material they can use.
I've seen the clips online, like people online who are fans of the show are obsessing about how accurate it is to the graphic novel and how well done it is and how
they've taken
characters nailing it. You know?
Yeah, they've taken like scenes out of the comics and literally reproduced it
frame for frame. Almost
that's what I love. That's what I love. It's like I don't understand the hubris of people to ruin source material or cut source material and just make up their own stuff. I'm gonna go on a rant here. Again, the Witcher books. I don't read a lot of fiction outside of comics, but the Witcher books, fantastic. And they totally just season 2 of The Witcher on Netflix. They totally just made up stuff. They made up an antagonist, and it just blows my mind. It's like you've got such good source material, and at least Marvel can manipulate it and still be good, like the Infinity Saga versus, or the Infinity Gauntlet versus Endgame and Infinity War. Like at least that was still good, and they manipulated it. They drew from the source material and made something new. What they're doing with She-Hulk and Thor 4 and just borrowing ideas and just totally making their own stuff, I hate that. I'm sorry, rant over. Anyway, so when you say, I mean, like even like I hear I never read the Scott Pilgrim comics, but they said they did the similar in the movie. It's like when you say they're actually drawing panels from and putting them on screen, like awesome. I'm gonna watch Sandman next. Forget Cobra Kai. I'll watch that next if that's what they're doing.
Well, one of the things that's helped with the production of Sandman is Neil Gaiman has a unique contract with DC and Warner Brothers. He basically really has overrule power on anything that happens in the Sandman universe.
Yeah.
So if he doesn't like it, or if he didn't want the TV show, it would not have happened.
Yeah.
So.
Nice.
Yeah, I wish that more production studios could find a director that knew the source material that they could do that with. I think a lot of it's trust. You know, sometimes you have directors that are like, I'm just a good movie director, but I don't really know anything about the source material.
Right.
And you're like, well, okay, I'm not going to let you do that. But you mentioned Scott Pilgrim. That's one of my favorite movies. I've never read the comics or the manga. Or
I hear, I hear they pulled a lot of it like from the comics. It's almost one word for word. In fact, I saw too. And I've only seen it once. Apparently the characters don't blink in the movie.
Yeah.
No one blinks to make it more comic-like.
Because they didn't blink in the show in the manga.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you don't blink in comics, right? So I'm like, yes, give me more of that. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah,
Miss Marvel was pretty close to the comics too. Maybe that's why I enjoyed Miss Marvel when it launched in 2015. I bought the first one of that. And the show is kind of similar. I mean, obviously, besides the magic stuff that they changed.
But you get things like, you know, on the flip side of that, like, you know, the 3-hour films out of The Hobbit. You know, it's like
I still haven't watched The Hobbit. I'm still protesting.
Dude, I don't care what people say. Like, that book was so boring compared to those movies. Those movies were awesome.
I liked the book.
The book is good. It's classic.
I read the book in 8th grade English. I liked it.
Those movies are way better than that book.
See, I heard the opposite. My dad watched it, and I was like, yeah, I heard. I'm like, I'm protesting because they took an 80-page book and made it 9 hours a movie. And my dad was like, yeah, no, all they did.
And there's so many times in there where you're like, that fall should have killed them, and they just keep on going. But so there's some silly things in there too for the kids. But you know, Tariel, you know, Evangeline Lilly as She-Elf and being there, fantastic. Legolas being a part of it, fantastic. Getting to see the actual Elf King Thranduil, fantastic. You know, getting to see the actual battle of the 5 armies instead of just going, and the battle starts, oop, Bilbo is knocked out. Oh, he wakes up. It's over. Like, what? Are you kidding me? That was like 4 more chapters of stuff. He just was like, I'm tired of writing, guys. What happened? Well, they put it in, and you see how it ends, and it's like that's what it should have been. I think that's way better. That's my rant.
Okay, so yeah, maybe you can add stuff, sure, but don't take away stuff. Don't like ignore stuff and then add your own. Like, you can expand. Don't delete and put in your own stuff. This isn't an 8th grade report. You know?
Same thing with Lord of the Rings. Like, Saruman died in the wrong way, the wrong place, the wrong time. You know, that is not how he died. An extended cut of Return of the King, you know, which is far better than the theatrical.
I'm seriously gonna, after Rings of Power, I'm gonna watch the extended cuts because I still haven't seen those.
Yay!
That's so good. It'll bless your life. Oh my gosh. They're so much better.
Take a day and marathon it.
We already talked about this. I am past my marathon days.
I don't know about that. I don't know if I can do that anymore either.
It's going to take me a week per movie, probably. All right, perfect. Well, hey, thanks for watching. Glad you are all here. Hey, go do your ministry. But let me tell you, Seth, thanks for being here. Doug, thanks for being here. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe wherever you are. Join our Facebook group, Nerd Pastors, and remember the difference between a stone and a ship.
One is made out of wood.
The other one looks downward. I don't know. Do you know the difference between a stone and a ship? I feel like they spent a lot of time on that, and I learned nothing from it.
They built that up, and then when they revealed it, I was like,
it was a weak intro. Compared to Lord of the Rings, weak intro. Yeah. Didn't care. Like, as soon as I saw that, I was like, yep, corporate fiction makes total sense.
Never let the theater nerds fill in the blanks for the dialogue.
Actors. We don't write. We act. All right. Thank you guys for being here.